Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David.
So, the Edmonton Oilers have done it again, Bruce. They've united the fan base, at least the cranky part of the fan base on Twitter, against them. Although more level-headed people are kind of acting in a more level-headed manner. They've done so by taking Philip Broberg, 8th overall in the NHL draft. Broberg is a Swedish defenseman, and the consensus view, if I looked at 15 scouting services from Bob McKenzie to Low Tide and everything in between, and the consensus was I think Broberg was the. Give me 1 second, and I'll give the exact number of where he was ranked. He was ranked as the 12th best player, not the 8th. So this is the shocking development that has everybody up in arms. And so there's some people who are mad about that, and then there's some, they're mad that they didn't trade down a little bit to get the player they wanted. Bruce, I don't watch these players enough. I've never seen Broberg play. I've never seen any of these guys play. I don't invest a lot of time in it because I don't have enough time to become an expert on this. So I don't have any opinion at all on his ability as a hockey player. But he's not that far out of the consensus. He's not that far from where the experts had him. Craig Button had him at number 7. Corey Pronman of The Athletic had him at number 9. Corey Pronman projects him as a top pairing guy. But your headline is that Holland's on the hot seat. You have a post up, Holland is on the hot seat with this pick. So why are you saying that?
Because before even reading any of the reaction on Twitter, I successfully forecast that there'd be a lot of people upset about the pick because he was out of the range of many of the scouting services. I mean, just on his elite prospects page was clumped several of the rankings. They have Pronman's number 9, McKean's number 9. But it's also number 21 of hockey prospect, number 17 of future considerations, number 16 of international scouting services, number 29 by elite prospects themselves, number 15 by McKenzie's TSN consensus list. So that's fairly strongly in the middle to even the second half of the first round. Of course, the Oilers were picking a little higher than that. Also, just that. I think the hand was tipped. I mean, Broberg's name has been associated with the Oilers more and more over the last week or so as we've gotten close to the draft. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, there's, I guess the reaction is to be expected. But the odd thing to me, and the hot seat part of his my headline from my own personal perspective is that the need of the team is clearly at forward. They do have a lot of depth prospects on the blue line. Now they have another one and another good one, which is all well and good. And who's to say that 3 or 5 years from now that it won't be the D-man that turns out to be, the big get while they manage to go and find themselves a few wingers from other means. So, as Oilers fans, we have to trust Ken Holland knows what the hell he's doing.
This is the thing. Like, if part of the concern would be if they drafted a forward. Let's say they had drafted Trevor Zegras, Cole Caulfield, or someone.
Matt Boldy.
Matt Boldy. The pressure would then be on for that kid to make the Oilers right away, right? That's how it is here because we're desperate. So this, in some ways, at least it takes that pressure away. No one's going to be expecting Broberg to make the Oilers next year, the year after. And it's going to be sometime. I mean, we've got 2 young players, Darnell Nurse and Oscar Klefbom, in the prime of their career. They have Caleb Jones, Dmitry Samarukov, outstanding, really strong prospects already in the system at lefty. So this is another one. And, if he makes the NHL when he's 21, 22, I mean, Klefbom will be close to 30 and Nurse will be 27, 28. So we'll see how it turns out. Here, I want to put it in perspective, though. When Philip Broberg was drafted, here's what he said. This is what you dream of all your life. It's an honor to be an Oiler. And so you know, with all the negativity out there, like this is a great moment for this player. It's a great moment for the Oilers. They've drafted a incredibly talented skating. You know, Prodman said he's the second best skater in the draft after Jack Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
He's big, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's fast. We'll see if he can. But all of these players taken at that range in the draft are a coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
Half of them are going to turn out, and half of them aren't when you're drafting in that range. So nobody knows, and I just think it should be almost a moment we should be thankful and happy for this kid that his dream has come true. And really, none of these people who are sounding off on Twitter are draft experts. I don't believe. None of these fans. I don't believe one of them has done enough work to have a truly informed opinion on the merits of this player, at least to the extent where they should be confident in voicing it to the extent that they do. Now everyone can mouth off as fans, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's the right of being a fan.
That's the right of being a fan. I don't have a problem with that, but maybe have that in the back of your head, the back of your mind. Like I haven't. It's not like they've watched these players, like watched them play 80 games like we do with the Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you seen him play? How many times has any fan who's mouthing off right now and attacking this player seen him play?
Broberg, I've seen him a few times actually because I happened to. Well, I saw him play live 3 times at the Linka Gretzky Cup last August. I did see a little bit of him in the World Junior, where he made the team as a 17-year-old as a depth defenseman. So he didn't play a ton, I don't think, but saw him there. And then at the U18, where he won the award for the best defenseman in the tournament and also won the gold medal playing for Sweden. So against his own age group, he had a strong season. And in between times playing against men, he didn't stand out quite so much. Plus, he got some kind of illness during the World Junior that apparently brought him down for a few weeks there early in the new year. So his statistics with AIK in the Allsvenskan, which is the Swedish second division, 2 goals, 7 assists in 41 games, don't jump off the sheet at you, but this just in, scoring points for defensemen in Sweden is tough. They always seem to score more when they come over here just because of the way they award points. And I tell you what, when I saw him in the Linka Gretzky, the guy has rockets in his skates. He just can fly. I put up, and I recommend people watch the video. I put up 2 videos, actually. I put up at the bottom of the post I wrote about the pick. One is they're both devoted strictly to Broberg. One is a highlight pack from the Linka Gretzky, and the other is a highlight pack from the U18. So those 2 tournaments that bookend the season for the draft prospects. And he was a standout in both of them. And man, when he gets the puck and decides to wheel up the ice, there's nobody close to being able to stay with him. So it's a matter of, the other team, they need to layer up to try and keep him to the outside. And in some of those highlights, they don't keep him to the outside, and he goes right in and scores. So, he's his foot speed, especially for such a big guy, already listed 6'3 1/4, and he's not even 18 yet. He turns 18 next week. So, he's already huge. He's over 200 pounds. And so who knows what he's going to fill out to, but, even if he doesn't grow any more height-wise, he's probably going to add 15 or 20 more pounds, and he's going to be a big, big man. With
after my own 2 sons, after the age of 20, both of them put on about 2 or 3 inches between 20 and 23. So late growing is definitely possible. Anyway, yeah, the guy can fly. That's all I.
And a very proactive player, and that's a good and a bad thing, especially for a D-man. But he tried to take the game into his own hands a lot, and every once in a while there'd certainly be a clanger of a turnover, or a bit of a howler of a decision or what have you. But there would be other times where he would take the game by the horns, and fun to watch. He's going to be a fun player to watch. That much I can tell you. If your idea of fun is action at both ends of the rink, we're going to have some of that.
Yeah. Hampus Lindholm's in that style, a defenseman with a huge amount of speed and size, not necessarily with the high end skill level to match.
Mm-hmm.
to be a elite point producer at the NHL level, but pretty good defenseman. Anyway, we'll see. Like I say, it's a coin flip with all these players taken in this range. I kind of, was hoping they would get a forward myself, just as an Oiler fan, and for what it's worth, I was hoping that maybe Dylan Cousins would drop, but that was balanced out by the fact that, and this is a harsh thing for people in Western Canada, but Western Canadian kids who play forward have not developed into top and NHL attackers in the last 15 years with any kind of regularity at all. And it's kind of shocking how few kids from Western Canada have become top end players in the NHL, at least on the attack. There's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and then there's Heatley going back a bit, and Jonathan Taves, but they didn't play junior hockey
right
in the WHL. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is the only kid who played his minor hockey in Western Canada, played hockey in the WHL, who's become even a good point scorer at the NHL level in the last 15 years, Bruce.
Well, and even Nuge,
he's not elite.
As much as Oilers fans love the Nuge, and I think we all do, he had a career high this season with 69 points, career high by 13, and even at that, he finished outside the top 50 in the NHL. Very, very good player. But as you say, where do you set the bar at elite?
Well, that's it. I put it at 0.7 points per game.
Okay.
Which is kind of pretty generous.
He's there. He's there then. He's
just there. He's on the nose. He's right on the nose, right? He's right at the lower end of that. Excuse me. So, I should specify, Bruce. This is players who are taken in the top 10 picks out of the WHL. Right. There might be some players. I think there are some players who played in the WHL who become elite scorers, but this is like the players taken at the very top of the draft. Right. I think Jamie Benn played in the WHL, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, and he went in the 5th round. So back when the Oilers had all those scouts covering the BC, they somehow missed Jamie Benn. They somehow missed Brendan Gallagher. But boy, we sure got a bunch of those other guys.
Bruce, let's go through a few comments.
Okay.
What do you think if the Oilers had taken Moritz Seider at 8th overall? The reaction would have been in Edmonton, Bruce, because that's what Detroit did at number 6. And man, people were, of course, it's Steve Yzerman, so everyone's
It was well, Steve Yzerman had Ken Holland's list, so maybe the Oilers would have taken Seitzer if he made it down to number 8. His old team beat him to the punch, maybe.
That's a good way of framing it.
I shouldn't even joke anymore. I threw a joke up on the Twitter about now how the Oilers now have 6 Swedish defensemen in their system, and I listed their future defense, and I just listed the 6 Swedes, and I got a ton of people saying, "Well, where's Nurse going to be? Well, where's old man Bouchard on your list?"
It's because people see you as authoritative. People see you as a serious and authoritative man, Bruce. I mean, all things Edmonton Oilers. They must not listen to our podcast. I made a same joke about McDavid wearing the string around his pants at the MVP award, and just saying, good for him. Like now we can all wear our sweatpants to work, and people were all like, well, he's probably just hiding an injury and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, and another guy, what are you trying to do? Run him out of town? And was cursing and swear. Like, what is with people? Man.
Yeah, I was running Ken Holland out of town with my headline tonight, too.
Oh, yeah. Where are you?
He put himself on the hot seat. Well, I think he wants to be on the hot seat. And he's prepared. He has the courage of his convictions.
Okay.
I respect that. Let's give him a chance to give him the keys and let him drive for a while.
Here's some of the angry reaction from our friend Sean Patrick Ryan, Oilers blogger. His after, and Sean actually does put in a ton of time watching these prospects.
He does. He's pretty authoritative when it comes to prospects.
And his comment was, "Fire Ken Holland. Oh my God, awful." After the Broberg pick. Here's from Oiler fan Tret. Ludic Neufeld, my God, laugh out loud. Zegras on the board, but let's take one more D. Not all Swedes will be Lidstrom. Let's just keep going. Here we have Edmonton Raider.
Mhm.
Unbelievable that the Oilers actually leaked and choreographed this pick. Amateur hour. So there was people mad about both things, about both the pick and about the Oilers leak. I guess it did leak out. I mean, every media guy in Edmonton seemed to be in on it, which was, I think, a little bit odd. I thought, like, seriously, you're going to tell everybody? The only thing I could think of was that they were trying to make Vancouver think that they were going to take this player, so Vancouver had to trade up to get the pick because there was rumor that Vancouver wanted Broberg. Like, I don't understand. It's pretty clear this was leaked by the Oilers, and I don't get why they did that, Bruce. If I have any criticism of the Oilers, and like serious criticism, what are you doing leaking your pick? I don't get that, because that's what happened, right? That happened. They all knew who.
Seemed to be. I mean, his name just kept heating up all week.
So I think that's a fair criticism, actually. Like, I don't know why you'd do that. Just shut up. Is there any advantage in telling people what your pick's going to be? I guess,
I heard this afternoon Chicago was tending towards Kirby Dach at number 3 overall, and they did indeed take him there. But that was this afternoon. And at number 3, I mean, everybody knew who the top 2 were going to be for months.
Yeah. So, it's like you have the number 1 pick after that.
It's almost, basically you have number 1 of the rest.
That's right.
I think that's 3 years in a row there was a surprise player taken at number 3. So
good for Kirby Dach, and good for, he's from Fort Saskatchewan, right? And is he not? So
he's from right around here, yeah.
The Edmonton area produces the 3rd overall draft pick in the NHL. That's good for you, Kirby Dach. I'm sure you don't like the Cult of Hockey podcast, but good for you, man. Like, way to go, and good luck in the NHL. Let's go for a few more. Oh, here's a good comment, Bruce, from Mo Sarda at Wheaton Oil.
Yes.
Okay. He writes, Clefbaum's development was marred by injury, but he had 2 seasons in the Swedish league, then half a season in the NHL before getting some NHL time. If Broberg is a successful pick, I'd eye a similar timeline. He'd come to North America just as Sekera and Russell's contracts are done. They're not traded. Also, if Broberg is a successful pick and follows this fairly optimistic development path, his first NHL season would be when Clefbaum is 29. You're planning for his decline at that point. Nurse will be 27, which is why you don't draft D with an eye to your current roster.
Mm-hmm.
So a completely sober and sensible and wise comment from Wheaton Oil there.
Which is the norm for him. He is an absolutely great follow for serious hockey fans, Oilers fans, and especially on Twitter.
Yeah, he is. Let's keep going here.
Well, I got one here. Our friend Locating Oil. Oh goodness. No, I just have to find it again. Oh yeah. Time will tell on this kid. Oiler fans that haven't watched him are about to talk about how bad of a pick he is.
Yes, indeed. From Martin London, who's an Oiler fan in Sweden at
Dofos, yeah.
Dofos. He informs us that Broberg is 100% going to play for Skellefteå AIK in the Swedish Elite League next season. Signed with him just a month back and nowhere near ready for the NHL. And you know who else plays for Skellefteå? But the Oilers, I think he was taken in 2017. Philip Berglund, who is a right shot D-man. He's about 21 or 22 right now. He's a fixture on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Oilers are planning to bring him over to the AHL next year. I doubt it, considering the plethora of players that Edmonton has right now on defense in the AHL. But so he's going to play with Berglund. That's interesting. I wonder, will we see a Broberg at the Dev Camp next week, starting on Monday?
Good question. I mean, given that he's already here for the draft, I'd be surprised if he didn't show up for the development camp. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Mm-hmm. It'll probably be the only time we see him, because by the time we get to rookie camp, the Swedish league will be starting to get rolling. So typically we don't see those fellows in the fall, but sometimes we see them in the summer camp.
Bruce, I was struck by the kind of the doom and gloom today on the Oilers Twitter sphere as compared to the absolute euphoria when the Oilers drafted Jesse Puljujarvi and the euphoria when they drafted Nail Yakupov. So I just think we can say with absolute certainty that the mood of the fans on draft day is not necessarily correlated with the success of a player in his NHL career. And again, this is what I'm stressing. We don't know about this player. He's got some.
We
really
didn't
good
know
things
about those
him.
guys either, did we?
And no, we didn't in the end. We don't know about any of these players. They're 17, 18 years old. A lot can happen to them. And, as people who know the NHL stress, they have none of them, even the top guy in the draft, Jack Hughes, none of them have it made today. This is the beginning of their journey and the start of their work. It's this incredible adventure that they're on in pro hockey, which starts today. And nothing's given to any of them, and they're all going to have to work like dogs. And so, same with Broberg, and he taught. Pronman, I think, was talking about how this guy is known as a hard worker. So that was an encouraging thing to read, that he's a hardworking guy. Of course, you hear that about a lot of players. Like I think I remember reading about Puljujarvi that he's a hard worker, and maybe even Jesse Puljujarvi is a really hard worker. Wouldn't be surprised if he is. So
we don't know that either.
We don't know that either. So. Alrighty. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
Well, that was day one. I mean, we got tomorrow. The Oilers have pick number 38. They have number 85 and 100, and then a couple more further down the list. But a 38, I mean, that's the seventh pick tomorrow. They're ranked 7th in every round. Of course, they moved down to number 8 because of the way the lottery fell out. So 7th pick tomorrow, and there's still some interesting names on the board. Hey, Arthur Kaliev is still there, and he's a big-time scorer, scored 51 goals, and he's actually younger by a day than our man Philip Broberg. He also turns 18 next week. So he was a legit 17-year-old all season and scored 51 goals. And here we've gone all the way through the first round. Nobody's touched the guy yet. So that's one player of interest.
He plays in Hamilton, right? Does Steve Stales, is he the GM there, or the owner, or the coach?
He plays in Hamilton Bulldogs.
Yeah.
51 goals, 51 assists, 102 points.
So I think he outscored every player
on the team?
CHL taken in the first round.
Wow.
So Low Tide, Alan Mitchell of Low Tide, who goes on the stats, Bruce, he has Kaliev rated 5th overall.
Yeah, he's high on some lists, but
so he on the consensus list. So if you go by the public scouting services and who they have, he's ranked 16th overall. Okay,
that's still pretty high for a guy not picked in the first round.
16th overall. We had 31 picks. So the next guy, I don't believe Raphael Lebois was taken. He's 19th overall, and Lebois had a huge playoffs.
Yeah.
Then there's Bobby Brink, who played on the U.S. team. He's 21.
Bobby Orr Brink.
Bobby Orr Brink.
His middle name is Orr.
That is fantastic.
Apparently his dad decided between calling him Bobby Orr Brink or Bobby Clark Brink.
Two fantastic hockey players.
Here's a guy of interest to me, Brent Leeson, a now 20-year-old right winger who tore it up with Prince Albert Raiders in the WHL this year at age 20. So there's got to be questions, but he really seemed to find his game. A huge natural right winger, shoots right, 6'4". He had 89 points in 55 games. And then in the playoffs, he had another 25 points in 22 games. Now, 20-year-olds in the dub, but he's a guy that was touted as a late first rounder. And the thing about being 20 is that maybe he's a little closer to being ready to help out at the pro level. So
yeah, which would be attractive.
They might think about. They do need scoring wingers. There's no mistake about that. And they didn't solve that problem tonight.
So there's also the 25th consensus pick was Niels Hoglander, a Swede. There's a group of Russians, 28, Pavel Dorofeyev, who some people had rated 9th.
Wow.
Who had him at 9th. Steve Cornianos, the draft analyst, had him at 9th. We also have 2 more Russians, Ilya Nikolaev and Igor Afanasayev. They're 34 and 35 on the list. So
So right around where Oilers are
right
picking.
around. So there's lots of forwards. Like there's
Mhm.
just a ton of forwards. There's an American kid, Robbie Mastro Simone, and there's a Swedish forward, Albin Gru. So there is a ton of offensive talent still in this draft at forward. So that's what I do think you have to balance out. You can't take all defensemen, and the Oilers are getting pretty stocked on defense. So I do fully expect them
They
to.
better be picking forwards tomorrow, and they better not be picking goalies either. So given how one of the picks they traded from this year, they traded for goalie Hayden Hockey, who, great name aside, the Oilers apparently decided not to sign the guy because they already were so stocked up in young goalies that they've been picking in every draft. So
Yeah, they better.
I would say tomorrow is going to be a day for forwards.
Yeah,
And we'll see if a trade of some sort. I mean, the goalie they do need is a number 2, not some 18 or 19-year-old
yeah.
prospect.
All right, Bruce. Well, let's leave it there. We'll be back tomorrow and writing about the draft, and probably have another podcast at the end of the whole thing.
All right.
So thanks for talking.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.